and President Zelensky has for the first time acknowledged that his forces are conducting a cross-border offensive inside Russia. It is the most serious attack by a foreign army on Russian territory since the Second World War. Moscow first reported a major incursion into its Kursk region on Tuesday. Until now, President Zelensky has made only oblique references to the fighting. But in his video address last night, he said Ukraine's military was pushing the war onto the aggressor's territory. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
Today, I received several reports from Commander-in-Chief Zelensky regarding the front lines and our actions to push the war onto the aggressor's territory. I am grateful to every unit of the defence forces, ensuring that Ukraine is proving that it can indeed restore justice and ensure the necessary pressure on the aggressor.
Well, Kyiv launched its surprise attack on Tuesday, advancing rapidly more than 10 kilometres inside Russia, the deepest raid since Moscow began its full-scale invasion in Ukraine in February 2022. Russian and Ukrainian forces have been locked in intense fighting in Kursk. Strict security measures are in place there and two other Russian regions, Belgorod and Bryansk. Thousands of civilians have been evacuated on both sides of the border. The governor of Kursk region has ordered the evacuations there to be accelerated after 13 people were injured when a Ukrainian missile hit a residential building. Ukrainian forces have reportedly created a new front line that is 30 kilometres long. So how are people in the Russian capital, Moscow, reacting? Let's hear from some of them.
I'm scared for people in general. You want to help people, but you don't know how to do it. Ukrainian forces seem to be far away from us, but at the same time, they seem to be very close. The fact is that people just had to suddenly leave. They had lived quietly, and suddenly they found Ukrainian soldiers on our territory.
So the big question is, whose fault is it and who is going to be responsible? Because as far as we know, there are heavy casualties among the soldiers on our side, as well as the destruction of residential buildings. So who is going to be responsible for that?
Well, meanwhile, President Zelensky has said Russian forces probably used a North Korean missile for an overnight airstrike on the Kyiv region, which killed a father and his 4-year-old son. Ukraine's Air Force says 4 North Korean-made missiles were launched by Russia as part of a large-scale attack across various regions overnight. It says Ukrainian forces destroyed 53 out of the 57 attack drones. Well, let's speak to Zhana Bezpachka from the BBC's Ukrainian service, who joins us now live from Kyiv. On those overnight attacks, what do we know?
Yes, it was one of the most massive attacks on different ranges of Ukraine within the recent months. Russia mostly launched drones against Ukraine. And for example, I myself woke up to the explosions where they were quite far away. They happened somewhere in the region of Kyiv, where unfortunately, as we got to know the morning, 3 people were killed. One of them was a child and his father was killed. For some regions of Ukraine, this air alarm lasted for many hours in a row. For example, in the Poltava region, it was 14 hours, and it's still on. So it's the longest one air alarm since the beginning of the war for that part of Ukraine. And, now there are many talks whether Russia might retaliate for Ukraine's incursion in the border region of Kursk. But I think this is not the biggest fear for many Ukrainians around. The biggest one is still whether this particular mostly drone attack, but also it included missiles, and as it was mentioned, some missiles might have been ballistic weapons provided by North Korea to Russia. But again, the fear is that this attack preceded the attack on the energy infrastructure. That's the biggest fear for many Ukrainians, because then a few more attacks might cause the collapse of the energy infrastructure. Many fear this, and in autumn, in winter, when Ukrainians need heating and electricity, that might be the huge challenge to the nation.
What is the mood after President Zelensky confirmed that there was that operation inside Russia, both within the military but also the public there?
I think first of all, within the military, it's a very important kind of boost of morality, because for a while we've seen that Russian forces managed to advance step by step, sometimes really slowly, but still advance in the east of Ukraine, and they had some land grabs there. Also, they carried out the incursion in the Kharkiv region recently and managed to grab some lands. So at this stage of the war, it was really important for the Ukrainian forces to take initiative. And many Ukrainians, not just military specialists and servicemen involved in this operation, but ordinary Ukrainians, they see this as a kind of maturity of the Ukrainian forces. I can't say that the talks over possible retaliation dominate. Mostly people focus on what can Ukraine achieve through this incursion, and one of the assumptions that it can help to create the buffer zone, which is so much needed, especially for the security and safety of the border regions of Ukraine, which are often targeted by Russian guided aviation bombs.
Zhanna Bezpratska from the BBC Ukrainian service, thank you very much indeed.